Welcome back, chums. So one of the biggest questions I always get in my videos whenever I do a Cyberpunk one is, should I be buying this game now? Should I be playing Cyberpunk? Is Cyberpunk fixed and ready to play now? And that's exactly why I wanted to make this video, because today we're gonna be talking about just that. Because if you ever wanted to play Cyberpunk 2077, this is definitely the best time to do it, because the game is in the best state it has ever been. So let's talk about it. Now, ever since the release, Cyberpunk 2077 was plagued with all sorts of drama and issues and things which were happening like from the release day itself, because let's face it, when Cyberpunk 2077 was released, it had a lot of underbaked, unfinished systems which needed a lot more time to be properly done. So once the game came out, it was a very polarizing feeling for people depending on which platform you were playing on, but regardless of the platform you were playing on, you still had majority of issues. Now, the biggest part of those issues was on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which is the last gen, because simply those consoles were not ready for Red Engine and for Cyberpunk, and the other way around. They were simply not able to communicate with each other well, and Cyberpunk as a game was asking too many resources, and that's why when it released, it was in an extremely problematic state on that last gen. But slowly and surely throughout these 3-4 years now almost, CD Projekt Red has reinvested a lot of money back into the game so they can fix it and also work on a new expansion, Phantom Liberty, which we're gonna be getting to. And with each update that Cyberpunk was getting, things were better and better. Now, all of those things which were happening prior to, let's say, patch 1.6, which was the Edge Runners patch, which kinda revitalized the game again. Keep in mind, everything which was done before that, it was mostly the underlying problems at the base of the code and fleshing out and baking all of the system which needed to be baked so they can be ready for, well, release. And it really culminated in that update along with Cyberpunk Edge Runners, where people kind of got into this idea again, let's replay Cyberpunk. They watched the anime, it was fun, so they wanted to go back. And once they got back into the game, it was a very enjoyable experience for a lot of people, and the overall reviews were extremely positive because, as I said, ever since 1.6, the underlying problems, the biggest ones, were fixed, so you were able to play the game on PlayStation 4, even and Xbox One, without those major issues happening. But when it comes to the PlayStation 5 edition, the Xbox Series X and S, and obviously PC, after that the experience was infinitely better. Now, on top of that, when they finished those underlying issues, CD Projekt Red went into adding more content into the game. Therefore, there has been a lot of weapons which have been added, different cars, different elements which you can do throughout the story itself. Now, one of those things culminated in update 2.0. So after 1.6, which was a really big update, concerning the player numbers, we were expecting 1.8. Now, CD Projekt Red said, okay, let's take this up a notch. So what they did is that they completely redesigned all of the systems when it comes to how you level up, how you gain different abilities, how you get perks, different loot you get, and how it happens throughout the story. Now, do keep in mind that the story of the game remained as is, as it was on release. It pretty much stayed as it is, but for me the characters and the story was always the strongest part of this game, and that was always good. But as they started adding all of those new features within the game, Update 2.0 came out, and it was a huge boom, because everything so far which was missing that people were asking for happened. One of those biggest things was actually having a proper police system. When Cyberpunk came out, the police system worked in a way where if you do crime, there is going to be like cops just spawning around you. That's pretty much it. It wasn't really that enjoyable. But after update 2.0, you now actually have cops which are going to arrive in vehicles and who are going to chase you around. With that, they also added finally the ability to shoot from the vehicles officially. Now keep in mind, there has been mods for that ever since the game came out, that was done. But this is added officially, so it finally happened, what they promised in that trailer, if you do remember, where V actually like does a little wheelie with a car and then he pulls out a gun on people from the vehicle, and of course people assumed you're gonna be able to do that, which you were not, but now that thing is finally included into the game. Now also, besides that, they have added a lot of new apartments, which was happening before, so you can now buy different apartments, you can buy vehicles from your PC, or well, the computer within the game. And they also added various side content like courier missions, which is pretty much you stealing vehicles and bringing them back to a fixer where you get paid and also get discounts for new vehicles which are in the game. Now after update 2.0 came Phantom Liberty, the first and only expansion for Cyberpunk 2077. Keep in mind that initially Cyberpunk was supposed to have 2 expansions or even more, like they said like before the game came out, including like they wanted to follow the path of The Witcher 3 basically, but that wasn't happening. But Phantom Liberty by itself, without spoiling for people who obviously have yet to play the actual expansion, it actually expands on the Pacifica region, adding a new district into the game, the Combat Zone or Dogtown. That's pretty much it. And the way Phantom Liberty does work within this game is that it's not only an expansion you start, it's also something you can go and revisit whenever you want. So if you were actually playing the game from the start and you have the Ultimate Edition, you're playing it for the first time, that district is going to be there at start, like obviously if you have the expansion. And it works so well that it's very seamless the way you can enter and exit from it, because it's more as a proper addition into Night City than being an expansion, or well, it is a proper expansion to the city itself because it kinda completes it, because the game was definitely missing the combat zone. It was a part of the lore always. It had Pacifica, but keep in mind not all of it, and Pacifica compared to the combat zone part of the area is pretty tame. And the expansion itself was it was so good. They took actually everything from like the base game, what people have been asking for or saying when it comes to the story, when it comes to pacing, and they like made it incredibly well into this expansion. I honestly think this expansion was maybe just like 10 to 15% shorter than I expected and would have wanted it to be, just because how good it actually was story-wise. But it wasn't just it, because after all of that, CD Projekt decided to release update 2.1, where they finally added a functioning metro system, or well, the functioning train system in general. So as you were able to do in the 2018 gameplay trailer, where they actually showed V being in the metro and just looking around the city, you can do it now. Honestly, this is one of those features which I never expected that are going to be introduced into the game, even though people were asking for it, but ultimately it happened and it makes sense. So now, as I said, you get more of that complete experience than you would ever, if you play this game on release. After update 2.1 came out, I went through the game again. I replayed it with all of the content, with all of the updates, with the expansion, to see like how good the experience is going to be right now. And besides some of the usual smaller glitches, you see a ragdoll going left and right sometimes, the experience was very smooth, and I'm talking about PC and both PlayStation 5. Now keep one thing in mind. When it comes to update 2.0, 2.1 and Phantom Liberty, that content is only available on current gen consoles and PC. So PlayStation 4 and Xbox One do not have all of these things, and that's why if you're gonna be replaying the game or playing it for the first time, I really do not recommend playing it on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, because you're gonna be lacking all of those features like the police system, like the expansion and everything else. But do keep in mind, of course, if you do have a PlayStation 4 version of Cyberpunk and you buy PlayStation 5, let's say, or you buy Xbox Series X or S, you just have to either insert a disc or navigate through it digitally to get the PlayStation 5 version for free. So the upgrade from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, from Xbox One to Xbox Series X and S, is free if you have the disc or digital version. But do keep in mind that the expansion, no matter how you have it, it costs money. And they also have the Ultimate Edition, which you can buy. Of course, you can buy it through GOG down below if you're on PC. But if you do somehow find the PlayStation, 4 or Xbox One version, like the disc, buy it for cheap, because, well, the upgrade is free and then you buy the expansion on top of it, and it should be like less expensive than actually buying the Ultimate Edition like directly from the store. So I think CD Projekt Red did a very nice job with these updates and hotfixes and basically adding new features into the game, because experience that players have is important. And ever since the experience from like the release version, because I actually took the disc, the original one, and I put it in the PlayStation 4 without any update. So the version that was shipped, I played, and it was definitely it wasn't as good of a experience as it is today. And I'm glad they did all of that. Now, of course, it is not ideal to release a game and then fix it later. It's never ideal. But in the case of Cyberpunk, I am extremely glad that they did fix it, because ultimately they left the game in an amazing state, so now they can move on to different projects. And I think they had to do it, because if Cyberpunk 2077 was left in the state like it was on release, I think it would have been a big stain on the company. But right now, as they mitigated all of those issues, with, working on the game properly and, throughout all of these years, I think that it's a big plus, especially, as I said, moving forward onto the next Witcher game and onto the Cyberpunk sequel, which is eventually coming. And of course, also besides all of the updates and features and everything else, I do believe that throughout overall of this, Cyberpunk is a really good game, a game which is, I think, worth your time to play. When you look at all of the characters and the stories and how insanely well they can be directed and written and portrayed, it's something that you just have to experience. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about in this video. To answer all of those questions, should you play Cyberpunk right now? Yes, you should, definitely, because, well, all of the updates are done, most of the patches are pretty much out. I'm sure they're gonna have a bit more, hotfix ones to fix all of the little things, but when it comes to just content in general, that's pretty much it, and I think they did a very nice job. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button for more, and also tell me down below, will you be playing Cyberpunk 2077 now, or if you played it, like, what do you think about the game so far, especially if you were playing this since release? Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and I will see you chooms in a new video. Bye bye.